Evidently, Baba heard every word that I uttered from within without opening my mouth. I just told you that Baba often asked people as to what they were thinking about. Even on the last day that I met Baba at Guru Prasad, on 25th of May 1965, just before we started playing in the afternoon his choice game of cards, Laris, more than once he gave a sly look, the usual beautiful sly look, and asked, "Well, Minoo, what are you thinking?" And the answer, as usual, was only one, and the only one answer, "Only you, Baba." So then he asked me, "But what in particular?" So I told him, I said, "Baba, when in physical life, see how beautiful you appear, I wonder what beauty must there be with you in your eternal form in the eternal sphere." So he turned round to Adi Dubash and asked, "Is Minoo like this only when he is before me, or even there?" Meaning when at Karachi. The only obvious answer was that Baba, yes, is often like this even there. And Baba remarked, gestured, saying that you all do not know him. And Baba said, "You know," pointing to me, "that I am everything." My only answer to him was in Persian, "Darin Cheshak," means there is no doubt. And he laughed and gave a flying kiss. In 1942, Baba was at Dehradun and stayed there for a number of months, for his own reasons, for his own work. 10 long years had passed since my association physically with him then in life, and I wrote to him that I would like to come and see him. And although he was not seeing anybody then, he sent me permission to come along and see him. The normal natural course was that I wanted to rush to Baba. But Baba had a cable sent to me saying, "Don't rush, take time, come at leisure." So I stopped. If I had started immediately as I had decided and determined, I would have met death in the train disaster those days in Sindh when there was the Hur movement. Thus, I was saved. And after a few days, when I met Baba at Dehradun, he told me, "What do you want?" I said, "Baba, I only know that I saw you, my search for God has ended, that I love you, that's all. But I do not know anything about your discourses, your philosophy, or anything." So he said, "You have nothing to do except to obey my orders, and since you have come all this way and asked me all these questions, now you go back to Karachi and the moment you reach Karachi, take off all your clothes, sit under a tree naked for 1 year. Immediately I bowed down to Baba and off I left. The then secretary, Mr. Framrose Dada Dikchandji, got stunned, amazed, pleaded Baba, and Baba said, "But I have not given you orders. I have given orders to Minoo and he has accepted." But he said, "Baba, Minoo is a police officer, and how do you expect him in the same city to be naked and be sitting under a tree?" Baba said, "Is that any of your concern?" Well, I proceeded, got up and said goodbye to Baba. But Mr. Darachandji pleaded so much that Baba called me back and said, "Minoo, I give you an alternative order." I said, "Baba, but why? I'm quite ready." He said, "Yes, I know you are, but you must obey whatever orders I give you." So his alternative orders were, I don't remember exact number now, but quite few hundreds of poor, blind, afflicted, to be collected in batches. I think of 100 each, and out of them to bathe a few from each batch and to feed them, and the rest could be fed by the others. And for that, naturally, I needed fairly colossal amount of money. And my financial position then was at its lowest ebb, as perhaps has always been in my life. And he gave one condition, that I must not ask help from that noble soul Jamshed Nasarwanji Mehta, who I was thinking was the first person I will approach, and he will give me all money and all facilities. So the task became all the more difficult. But within the stipulated period of time, I accomplished the task, helped by other Baba lovers, and when I was almost halfway through, a cable came saying that stop, now your remaining part of the work, I will myself finish in northern India, near Dehradun, at Rishikesh and other places. And so I had the monies sent over to Baba, and he finished the task which he had asked me to start and complete. In 1937, to remind you all once again, during those most glorious birthday celebrations, when the Westerners were present for the first time, when all those glorious days program finished, people one by one in row started meeting Baba and bid him goodbye with hugs, kisses. And as soon as my turn came, Baba said, stop. Baba said, I have started recently an ashram at Rahuri for the mad and the must, and I must have this mad fellow in my ashram. So he ordered that along with a few of the resident Mandali, I must proceed to Rahuri, stay there for 24 hours, and then go back to Karachi. Now here, it is important for me to tell you that I had heard a lot about one Parsi gentleman, Mr. Pleader, of whom many of you must have heard, that once for 5 years Baba kept him on milk only and in a cave at Panchgani. And I knew that he was I beg your pardon, I didn't know that he was a Rowdy, but I was very, very keen to see that man, feeling that he is one of the very few who is really very close to Baba and is going headlong to qualify for the ultimate grace of Baba, for God realization to him through Baba. So this innermost feeling, Baba satisfied thus. When I reached Rowdy, I found that pleader was there. Almost through the night we talked with each other. There were various types of us there. One would simply open a paper and say, Christ, Christ, the Holy Christ, Meher Baba the Christ, Christ, the Holy Christ. The other would take an empty kerosene tin and dum 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 all the time. Another fellow would cry and keep on crying and crying all the time. And this famous Must Muhammad was then seen by me. He was very thin and lean, and he would brush his teeth for hours together and continue to brush, and so on and so forth. At that time, I told them that Baba will come to see me before I go. And they said, are you mad? Do you expect Baba to come over 100 miles up and down the ghats only to meet you now that you have met him for so many days? And right enough, Baba did come. I well remember in a small Morris car driven by Adi Irani. Here a very remarkable incident happened. A few minutes before Baba's car arrived, each and every must suddenly stopped his respective activity. Namely, the one who was crying stopped crying. The one who was playing the drum, dum 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 on an empty kerosene tin stopped. The one who was all the time saying, Christ, Christ, Meher Baba the Christ stopped. And so on and so forth. And everyone rushed, sprawled on the floor, and with their eyes fixed from under the iron gate, looked. It appeared as if an army was keeping readiness for firing. And very soon Baba appeared. And no soon the gates were opened and Baba entered. The same humdrum and all started. At that time Baba asked us, have you read the Times of India? And has any account of the celebrations appeared? And Dr. Ghani, who was there, and Mr. Pleader and others who were reading almost every word of the paper said no. And Baba just opened the paper and put his finger down and said, you fools, see this few lines. And there were those few lines about the celebrations. At that time, all of a sudden, Baba became very radiant. His face glowed, and all that he uttered was, through movement of his finger on the board, that by doing all this, I have cocked completely the bottle, which with a big bang I will open on the 27th of June. This was in the month of February, so I told Dr. Ghani, and before 27th of June, I had a cable sent to Dr. Ghani with only one word, butch, meaning cock. With great difficulty, that telegram was accepted by the authorities, who wondered what it meant, and it reached Dr. Ghani. But nothing happened on that June 27th, and nothing has happened to date. But we must wait and watch for the real 27th of June to come in very near future now. This appears definitely to have a very close connection with a period just preceding his most glorious, unimaginable manifestation. One day, Baba sent his car and some of the male Mandali members in the evening at the police training school Nasik to fetch me immediately, as according to Baba, I was needed very badly for a very important work. As usual, up, I sat in the car, managed to get urgent permission, normally a difficult thing in the police training school, and I was before Baba within few minutes. Baba was in a very serious mood. There was pin-drop silence in the room, in the Circle Cinema, where during those days there was a seat. Baba was seated on a couch, and Baba told me, Minoo, get immediately inside, below me, in the couch, underneath the couch. And he said, try to go to sleep, but if you can't, well, whatever you hear, don't tell it in details to anyone. But the gist of it, you may just tell or make use of as and when in future you feel necessary. So I can tell you all today that soon thereafter I found, of course I had instructions not to see anybody or anything. And what could I see from below the couch? But I didn't attempt, I closed my eyes, but kept my ears much more open than they are normally. And I heard a man walk in a perfect military style and salute Baba, pay his respects to Baba. And there was some talk going on in regard to Mahatma Gandhi, who was then at a very critical stage of his life, and who, I humbly submit, was in good faith dragging the country on a very dangerous threshold by his vow of fast unto death. It was Baba's desire, evidently, that Mahatma Gandhi should be made to desist from such a step in the best interest of the country and its future. But Mahatma Gandhi was adamant and demanded something concrete to feel sure that it is the wish and will of Baba. So if I correctly remember, a signed document was sent for a special messenger, and when everything was over, I was asked by Baba that now the work is done. The signed document sent by Baba to Mahatma Gandhi was obviously the written instructions to Mahatma Gandhi to break his vow of fast unto death. When everything was over, Baba told me to come out from below the couch, said that the work was over, that my participation in that important work was also over, and that I was ordered to be taken back to the police training school at Nasik that evening. And next morning, there were the headlines, Mahatma Gandhi breaks his vow of fast unto death. The entire world was shocked. But naturally not I, who had witnessed and participated Baba's working behind that memorable act. And now, let us see, can this man who said he's God in human form and such infinite compassion he has for one and all, can he really be so very angry as an ordinary individual and act in anger as we humans act? The plain and simple answer based on my experience, my life with him, is yes. To quote you just one concrete instance, one afternoon, Baba suddenly appeared in Nasik and walking round his resident Mandali, their beddings and their belongings, on the back of the stage of Circle Cinema Nasik, he caught hold of one of the resident Mandali disciples, a young boy, and told him to speak the truth. The boy obviously was suffering from what we almost all suffer in our young days, from the habit of self-abuse. And naturally the young man was shy before others to make a confession. Baba repeatedly told him that it is in his own interest to speak the truth. And when repeated entreaties by Baba failed, Baba lost his shirt completely, gave him such a hiding, that literally hiding, such a beating, that the young man started bleeding. And now can you just imagine? And immediately the young man made a clean breast of everything. And Baba said, "You are very fortunate," of course to him, "you are very fortunate that you have at last made the confession, and it will benefit you physically and spiritually." To give a personal touch to this incident, I myself desired internally very sincerely, and said to Baba internally, "Baba, at least give me some beating sometime and improve me also." And this I referred to frankly from within, for my own weaknesses through which I was then suffering. And coincidentally, there was Ramju Bhai. Many of you must have heard about him, one of the stalwart Baba lovers, a disciple, one who from very young days was with Baba, most surprisingly pointed at me and said, "Baba, why not beat Minoo also?" And the only beating that Baba gave, that he came close to me and gave a fine big hug. This is how, as I have said even yesterday, in my case it has been by Baba, spare the rod and spoil the child. There is still one incident I recollect during those fine Nasik days with Baba. There was a very fat, plumpy Maratha man who was a betel nut and cigarette shopwala in the compound of Circle Cinema at Nasik. Baba was about to leave for the West, and we all lined up to meet Baba. Some crying, some serious, some hugging, some kissing. When the turn of this man came, he also hugged Baba. Baba also hugged him very tight, kissed him, caressed him, but said that, look, I'll be very shortly coming back, but you see that you don't leave the premises of Circle Cinema. And off Baba went. A few of us understood the implications of Baba's caution and would often try to play prank with him, tease him, stand outside on the Bombay-Agra road and call him out. And he would openly say that, yes, you want me to die? And he would never come out. Baba's soon return, as usual, prolonged until one Sunday afternoon we were told that Baba is due to arrive from Bombay by car. I vividly remember that I had cycled down from the police training school at Nasik. When I entered the compound of the Circle Cinema, I heard the poor man tell the Irani gentleman, yes, his name was Sailor, given to him by Baba, to give him tea. And in what little Marathi I understood, there was a talk between them, this man half in his sleep, and Sailor saying that I am not your father's servant, tea is not ready, there is my shop outside and you go and have tea. Well, I just passed by from the cycle, put my cycle there, went to Baba's seat, just cleaned it, kept roses ready because Baba was expected. And soon I heard hubble bubble, all shore, all noise. I rushed out to see what had happened, and I found that man dead. And he was partly out and partly in where his body was lying. When amazed, startled, soon came Baba's car. And when Baba came in, Baba was surprised as to why everybody was not pleased that Baba had come. And soon Baba learnt of the incident, and as soon as Baba was informed that the man in his half sleep probably tried to go out to have tea, and the moment he stepped out, he dropped dead. Another story relates to our own family. The mother-in-law of my brother at Nasik. Her eldest son came one day crying to Baba. One evening I was sitting there and said, and I recognized him, I had seen him some years ago, and he said, Baba, my mother is very badly ill, very ill, and I just come to inform. And Baba immediately got up and said, come along, I am coming to see her. He said, no, Baba, I haven't come to give you trouble to come to see her. Baba said, no, but without your asking, I am coming. And Baba jumped in the car and asked a few to accompany him, and I was one of those. We went there, Baba saw her, she was in a critical condition, and Baba said that this lady will never die. So I turned round and I said, is she immortal? Baba said, yes. I said, what nonsense? Immortal? And that's how the thing ended. Exactly a year after, of course, here I forget that Baba has said that provided she does not leave the municipal limits of Nasik. So once again to myself from within I said that, Baba, if you only gave me a much smaller limit, I would be immortal. And again, though I had not uttered, but I said from within, Baba smiled, patted me, said nothing, and the thing finished. Exactly a year thereafter, the same man comes in the evening and cries and says that the lady is dead. Well, how's that? And Baba said, it is impossible. I told you that lady will never die. And the man said, but Baba, she is actually dead and I've come to inform you. Then Baba casually asked, where? And the reply was, at Devlali, a place next to Nasik. And Baba said, yes, she can be dead. And now do what you do according to your Parsi customs. And how did this thing happen? It happened that her own sister, that mother-in-law, my brother's mother-in-law's sister, had died in Nasik, and in that hubble bubble they all left with the body to Devlali. And the moment the funeral went out, the next morning this lady dropped dead. Instances of people crying when meeting Baba, when being with Baba, some little, some more, some for a while and some for a very long time, are not uncommon, and I am sure every one of you have heard of this. In my life with Baba, I have not been an exception to that as well. And this was more particularly during the beginning days at Nasik, when love overflowed tremendously. And it was a job for Baba to pacify me, to cool me down. Not only when before him in some room, in Circle Cinema, but out on the road, seeing Baba prostrate straight on the ground on the mud, unmindful of the people watching on the road, I would burst out in torrents of tears. At the Nasik railway station, the same. Run along with his moving train for a considerable period, full of tears, with all the risk of falling and injuring myself. All this continued for quite some time, some months, until one day Baba sat down and explained to me that it is not only the heart, but it is also the head that requires to be trained and tuned in alignment with heart, and both have to be balanced. And in due course of time, by the grace of love of Baba, this in my life was achieved. As in human life, so in life with Baba, in love we play so many pranks. And the more you love, the more pranks you play. And in my life with Baba, one of the pranks that I often played was to be on the lookout when he would be eating. Stand at a distance, as far as possible, in such a manner from such a spot that nobody would be able to see, or hardly a few would. And look at Baba eating. And Baba never missed watching. Not only at Meherabad, Meherazad, but even in the moving train while traveling with him from Madras to Pune in 1947. And Baba would beckon. I would go to Baba, and like a dog, I would just wait without uttering one word. I would, with love, wish that he would throw the food that he had eaten and left, and that I would eat. But amazingly, it was Baba who sometimes held out the plate from which he had eaten and something remained, with instructions that I should finish. Sometimes he even took out from his mouth what he had chewed and with his own hands put it into my mouth. Sometimes, and that was rather rarely, the last was during his birthday celebrations at Meherabad in 1958, he asked me to distribute to a few outside. And the few, before I had started, became many, and it became a problem how to distribute that little food to so many. But yet it was managed. Now when such instances are related, and as I said before, it all sounds so egoistic, these are also instances of the love grace of Baba on one who loves him silently, steadfastly, and anything and everything asked with love, silently, is never refused by him. And the motive behind relating this story again is to infuse in the listeners such love, such longing as a disciple, as a devotee, as a Baba lover for Baba.
Yeah.
In 1937, as I had told you some time back, Baba stopped me and told me that he had just started a mad and a must ashram at Rauri, and that I, being a mad one, should go to Rauri with the resident Mandali members in a bus. When we were traveling in a bus, surely the bus was not chartered, so we set out for Rauri, mad and must ashram of Baba, in a bus. Surely the bus was not chartered, and there were other passengers as well. One of them happened to be a sadhu, and I minutely kept on observing him and noticed that he was more interested in us than the rest of the passengers. Almost when halfway through, and when the sadhu had to get off the bus, he waited until we all boarded the bus again, where we had halted for a while for rest, tea, etc. The sadhu, in an authoritative tone, ordered the driver to stop. And without a mistake, went to each and every one of us in Baba and bowed down. But in my case, most surprisingly, mind you, he was a Hindu sadhu, he caught hold of my hand kissed my hand in a Muslim fashion and left. I informed this incident to Baba sometime later when I met him again, and spontaneously Baba said in reply, "Have I not said so often, you all really do not know who you really are. Otherwise, you all would not be so much with me from day to day."